the literal second we clapped, I got 4 DMs from different people. What in the world?
That happens every single time I press go live on Twitch as well. It's like
just DMs?
Yeah, literal DMs and emails and phone lights up and everything is like literally every single day.
People just know.
Yeah.
What's even better is one of them is from one of my mods. No context. He just says, someone really fucked up at their job. That's it. Okay. Are you talking about me? Are you talking about somebody at your work? Are you, did I do something? I'm recording a podcast right now.
Is this something I need to worry about?
Am I in trouble? And then the other one's sending me pictures of quesadillas that he's making in his camping stove because we're going on a hike and a picnic tomorrow. So we're going to go make quesadillas in the forest. And get eaten by a bear, hopefully.
I'm so jelly of all your hiking trips and everything. I want to go as well.
What's stopping you?
Yeah, what's stopping you?
8 months of winter, mostly.
Well, take like 4 months off a year and go for hikes.
Yeah. I kind of want to go like late summer or early autumn. Would be really nice.
So you have like a 1 week window then, because it's 8 months.
It really is like that. Yeah, it's pretty much that. But, like
it's either too hot or
spring is now starting here. Like we have a little bit of green in the trees and grass now.
I mean, we had no warm weather. Like it was not above 10 degrees consistently until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had a -5 2 weeks ago, and then it suddenly jumped to 20.
Yeah, I couldn't plant tomatoes because it kept going below freezing up until this past week. So I'm not that much further south than you actually on a map.
Yeah,
I'm just coastal and near tropic winds, and so we just get gusts of warm air all winter from Hawaii.
I mean, we are coastal as well, so we get the warm current into here, which makes really mild winters mostly. They just last forever.
Yeah, but if I was up in Prince George or further north in BC, it would be the exact same thing. Because you don't have to go that much further north to get that same kind of. There's still snow and it's May.
Yeah, there is still snow. But we had a week of warm weather now, and then it rained for a couple days, and then it got warm again. So all the plant life is instantly blooming.
I'm gonna be seeing snow tomorrow where I'm going on that hike. There will be snow up there, but
take pictures, please.
Sure. Although it'll be very sad snow and it'll be covered in bugs because it's above freezing up there, right?
Yeah.
So it's all just under the tree line cover, so it's protected, so it's in the shade, so it's not going to melt immediately. But that's where bugs grow at this time of year.
Yeah.
So it'll just be covered in wood beetles. But
I
need to install some bug screens on our windows again as well.
Yeah.
A week, and then we're gonna see all the small flies and everything.
My apartment is full of fruit flies, and there's nothing I can do about it.
I hate buying fruit because of that. Sometimes you just get a million of them.
I take out the compost every day because of it. Because there's no way to get rid of them. But you know what you can get rid of, but you probably shouldn't, is episode 70 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. I'm back and I'm hosting. I'm blind. And I'm joined today by Bellinaire. How are you doing today?
I'm back as well, I guess. I haven't been on in a while.
Welcome back.
I'm surviving. It's getting better. So I guess it's okay.
Everything's always constantly improving. Kiri is also here. How are you today?
I'm good, actually. I had a cold this week, or last weekend this week. But I'm fine again.
Yay! Thumbs up for improving. I don't know. We've just been kind of rambling about outdoor stuff, and I kind of want to keep this conversation going that we had during the pre-show. Because outdoor stuff is fun, but how's life been? What has everybody been up to? It's been a while since I've hosted an episode. I think I said this the last time I hosted an episode, because scheduling has been all over the place with, summer kind of kicking in and everybody getting busy on the weekends all of a sudden, and it's it's not okay to just stay strapped down on Fridays and not go outside and record a podcast every week. So gets a little bit more complicated to record things with the same cast every week. So I guess this kind of becomes like catch-up time for us in a way.
Yeah, it's true.
But I don't know. Like, what's everybody been up to? How's streaming been? How's the general feeling of like the natural transition from spring into summer been going for? Let's start with Kiri.
Streaming's been great, actually. I'm enjoying it a lot more again because a couple of months ago I started therapy and it's been amazing and eye-opening, and I've learned so much about myself and I've got a better work-life balance, and it only took 4 years, but I'm finally there and I have weekends now. It's amazing. I could go out and do stuff, like go for a hike. It's awesome.
I think the smartest thing that I did during the pandemic was cut my streaming schedule down to 3 days a week. I'm back up to 4 now, but I don't know. The 4th doesn't count. I only stream for 6 hours on the 4th. So
yeah, I've been
nice and short.
Watching all of you do that, reducing your hours and reducing your days of streaming. I was like, that seems nice. I should do that. I keep telling myself that I need to take at least 1 day of a week.
Yeah.
But then I don't.
Aww.
I really need to kick my butt to actually do that as well. It would be nice to have at least a day to do all the non-streaming stuff, and maybe also some real life stuff as well.
Yeah, so I took a page out of FG's book and other streamers as well, and I have a second channel with co-working stuff now, and it's been so amazing.
That idea sounds really amazing as well.
Because I'm still streaming and the hardcore fans are still watching. I do get a bit of money, and I don't ruin my stats for the other channel for sponsorships, and I get so much work done. It's amazing.
It sounds like a good idea.
I fall in and out of love with those, with the second channel. Like, there's parts of it that I love, where it's like, yeah, I really love having this channel running, and I can stream on it, and I can make some extra money while editing and whatnot. And then, there's times where it's just like, I don't even want to do that. So it kind of depends on the mood. Like, I basically didn't stream on my second channel at all last month, but I did a lot the month before.
Yeah, but it's good to have that option set up when you feel like doing it.
Yeah. I don't care about the numbers side of things for sponsorships because I don't take them really. But it's just kind of nice to be able to have a channel I don't care about, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's very freeing.
To a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're only limited by the limitations you create for yourself on your main channel, right?
Oh yeah, and I do that a lot.
Right,
yeah.
so if you only stream in a certain schedule, you put that limitation there. If you only stream certain types of games, you put that limitation there. And
yep,
there's definitely kinds of games where I go, yeah, I'm not going to stream that because my limitation won't let me, which is why I streamed Jelly Car for 4 hours on my second account once.
Yeah, I feel like it's always you yourself is the biggest enemy of your success. You have to fight yourself to do things and get better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not just success though. For me, it's also just relaxation.
Yeah,
I'm
generally
so bad at that.
Whole life.
But I am my worst enemy, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm really bad at taking time off and relaxing. Not because I don't want to take time off and relax. I want to take time off and relax. The problem is if I take time off and relax most of the time, I either A, end up at the pub, or B, end up on my floor inebriated. Because there's nothing to do and I have no friends most of the time. So it's I have a couple of friends, but they work normal jobs. And it's well, I took a day off and it's a Monday. Well, what am I going to do on a Monday?
Yeah.
So sometimes I can find stuff to do, but especially if it's in the winter and it's raining, it's well, I have 8 beers in my fridge and I'm going to put a movie on.
Yeah.
And that's my evenings.
It's always okay, I'll take a day off to relax, but then you stress about taking the day off to relax, and it's really not relaxing at all.
Or I just end up sitting at the computer all day anyway, playing other video game, and then I smack myself because I'm well, I could have just recorded that.
Yeah.
Why didn't I just record that?
Or at least stream on a second channel or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's being a solitary person in existence in a job that is very solitary can be kind of I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah. I would say that, yes. I would say it's the hardest part of this job for me, actually.
Mm-hmm. It's also a part that people don't really see and think about.
What, when they were like getting into streaming or whatnot, or
Yeah, like in general, just didn't see how hard it is
well, I mean,
for everyone.
I think the people who didn't see how hard it is have already quit, right?
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
like the number of times like I've seen a channel show up on Twitch, do okay for a little bit, and gain a bit of an audience. Maybe get into like the mid-20s or high 30s of audience numbers. Get to that point where you can start doing well. They start grinding, and then they're gone in 3 weeks. Like the number of times I've seen that happen is just off the charts. So like,
it's so easy to like burn out yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you just start to hate your hobby. Is really what happens. Or like you start to hate the people who watch you, or maybe you don't prune your community well enough, and you end up with a couple of bad apples, and your community makes the job very unpleasant, and then you stop. Right? Like there's lots of different things that can push people away from this job. I don't think it's necessarily that people don't realize how hard it is going in. I think what this job often ends up doing to people is like, you just see the glam, you just see the glitz, and you just see the positive sides from the outside looking in, and you just expect that. And it's the same way with any job.
Yeah. It's also why people tell you not to make your hobby into a job. Keep them separate.
Yeah.
If you enjoy something, don't make it work.
Make all the hobbies into jobs. Then you have no jobs. You just have hobbies. It's great. Pay you money.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously good points about it as well. It's not like we wouldn't do this if it didn't have those nice things as well.
Oh, definitely. And streaming is great, but holy, it just completely destroyed my love for gaming for a while.
People love gaming? Weird.
I mean, I did. I kind of do, but
it's funny. I love video games. I don't always love playing video games.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I love the industry of video games. I love the artistry and the creation of video games. And if I'm just like paying attention to the AAA side of things at all times, which is also largely why I avoid so much AAA stuff, if I just focus on the AAA side of things, I see all of the flaws and all of the problems with the industry, and it just stares me right in the face, and I slowly start to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are staring at, like, say, the more indie side of things, and you're seeing the little success stories, it can be uplifting and awesome. Like, seeing a little game release that, had no hype behind it and just a small Twitter account and a couple of Reddit followers, and that's about it. Or a couple of Twitter followers and a small subreddit, and that's about it. Release and then, get 100% positive reviews and sell a couple thousand copies, which is enough to, fund the rest of the game's development. Like, seeing that happen always feels fantastic, and I look for that. I try and seek that out, and I try and help other people achieve that, because that's what makes me feel like this job is worth doing. If it's just staring at the AAA side of things, the big business corporate side of things, it's just soul-sucking for me. And it makes me hate this industry. And that's the least productive thing I can be doing with my time.
Yeah, it's also where like a lot of the negativity of the whole gaming is, and all the news and everything is always just all the big games, which we will probably cover today as well.
Yep, no, we've got some of that stuff today, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. That was a bit of a rant for me. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm kind of hogging the microphone. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things to love about video games. Video games are pretty cool. So why don't we go take a real quick break? When we come back, we're going to talk about the video games that we've been playing this past week, or couple of weeks in some cases, because some of us haven't been here in a while. And we'll be right back after this. And we're back with episode 70. I don't know if I said that at the top of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. And Bellinaire, you've been playing a little bit of a open world sleuthing game. Speaking of open world sleuthing, there's a wasp that just flew past me. So if I disappear randomly, there's a wasp in my apartment. Hopefully it flies out.
Or hear random screaming, I guess.
Yeah, if you hear nonsensical screaming in the background, I'm not dying. I'm just getting stung repeatedly by a wasp. Okay, it's flying away. Please fly out of the apartment. Anyway, so Bellinaire, you've been playing some Shadows of Doubt.
Yeah,
How's that been? It ran at 1 frame a second in the demo on my computer, so I updated my drivers and then it ran at like 12.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big things that bothered me. Performance was kind of not great at times, and I think there was like a memory leak or something. I had to reboot the game every like 3-4 hours. But I kind of understand also why it does that, because it's insanely complex how the simulation works. So it's all like a procedural generated, and you like do a seed for the map and everything. So every character and like everything is just like a generated, and all their interactions, and they're like who they know, who they where they work, and like all of that is like generated, and then it's like interlinked. So they have like a daily routines, all the citizens and everything. And that game just picks like a random person to murder someone, and they just they also like do the murder. So they go to a place, to someone's apartment or a workplace or something, and they murder someone there, and then they leave. And it generates like this different like footprints and fingerprints and things that you can basically search for. And you're playing basically like a noir detective character yourself in this like a very dystopian world. Like world is flooded, and they live on these like small island cities, more or less, that are not very happy. The world is run by starch cola, more or less. So the basically Coca-Cola got elected as a president.
So Coca-Cola runs the city. It's the grim dark future where soda rules the streets. Gotcha.
And it's funny when you like they sell starch cola everywhere, and it's also kind of cyberpunky. So you have like these augments, and one of the augments you can get is basically this starch cola augment that gives you money up front, but like $6,000 up front, but taking it out costs $6,000. And every time you drink a cola can, it reduces the price by $1. But if you consume a competitor's product, it goes up. And then
I don't like
it's
that.
Funny.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's kind of. And then when you look at like you can see like people's medical records and all of the like it's crazy how much detail you have like from like eye color, shoe size, all of their medical information and jobs and hair color, like literally everything about a person. And any of those can be your clue how to catch people. But it's also funny because everyone basically has like shoebox of their lease for the apartment and their work contracts and everything. And there's also like medical records. And almost everyone in the city has diabetes because everyone's drinking the starch cola.
I'm not surprised.
It's funny. It's like, this person's diabetes and this person's diabetes. It's like every single person in the city. But yeah, it's the whole like detective side is like you it doesn't really like the tutorial tells you like do this and do this to figure out the crime, but then once you get in the actual game, you have to figure it yourself. And you have this like a crazy board where you put all the pin and all your like information and all your clues and kind of make links yourself. But it doesn't really like hold your hand in any way. You literally have to figure out like what's the connection yourself. Like you get the fingerprint, and then you have to figure out how do I connect this fingerprint to the killer. And it's just so much fun having to like go to their workplace, look through all of their work record, like employee records, or like figuring out who lives in that apartment building. You can look at camera records to see like who's been there around the murder time. You get a face, and then you have to match the face to person. And like there's phone records and so many different ways to also like approach the crime. It's just crazy how much like we had this one crime where someone got murdered in the middle of the street, there was like no really clues on it other than this like a small note. So I went and hacked the CCTV cameras in the street, and literally just noted down like face of everyone around the time. And I spent like almost like an hour or two, real time, just chasing this one face that I was like, it must be this guy. He was right at the right place at the right time, and turns out it wasn't him at all. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh no!
And I didn't even find the guy who it actually was. Like that, I didn't find the person I was trying to find. I did find the real killer eventually. And the game is kind of interestingly made as well. Like if you don't catch the killer, they kill again. So it's basically the game's way of like, well, you couldn't figure it out with these clues. Here's some extra clues, so maybe these will help you.
So what's the process of actually like tracking down killers in this game? Because like I've heard a couple of people talk about this game and they're just like, oh, this is the best detective game, but nobody really goes further than that. So like, what is the actual like minute to minute gameplay? Like you're going through records and stuff, but how do you do that? Are you sitting at is the game just giving you data and you're just going through spreadsheets? Are you like physically going to places and doing like I don't know, dialogue wheel things with people?
Yeah, basically it's an open world, so you can basically run around and do whatever you want and poke people's apartments, and there's also side jobs, so you can do like small jobs. But every now and then they basically get like a new murder case at this and this address, and then you need to go to the address. But because you're not like a real detective or real police or anything, you need to sneak into the apartments and everyone. Because I mean, you're basically trespassing and doing crimes as well. Like people were saying when I was playing the game that I am like the worst criminal in this town. But yeah, you have to basically go to the crime scene, which it tells you like it's in this address, and then you just have like a phone book kind of thing where you can look up addresses, and there's actual phone book as well where you can look at like people's names. And then you just go to the address, wherever it is, sneak in. You can use like air ducts or just usually just walk through the door more or less. There's usually police, and you need to sneak in, and you can turn off cameras, and you can turn off lights, and all of that stealth gameplay as well. Which you don't need that much, but
is this Deus Ex?
It basically is.
Okay,
but
I get
it. Once you get to like the apartments or wherever you have the murder case, you can have it on the street, you can have it in a shop, an office. There's different locations, and they're going to be adding even more of those. And then you basically find a body. You can inspect the body and see like what was the cause of murder. Which usually is like stabbing or shooting or poisoning or something like that. Sometimes there's a murder weapon near it. Sometimes there's like fingerprints, footprints, and you just have it's like a fingerprint scanner, which also works for the footprints. And then it just allows you to like add these like sticky notes into your board and put red strings between the notes, and like this leads to this and this leads to this. And it's literally just collecting information, like all of the stuff that you can have there. And then like getting all those pictures from the cameras, and then you just literally have to go like find like okay, I got this footprint. How do I match this? There is like for example, Augment that it's actually the dating app Augment that allows you like a socio-economical information, but just by looking people. So you get their shoe size and are they married and so on. And then you can use that information then to basically track down the people. And there's a lot of really interesting ways to go for it. Like there's a one thing that's kind of broken almost. You can go to the city office, hack into this like a government database, and look for people's name from there, and it gives you like all the information from there. You can also like often what I did was I usually like go to the apartment, go through all of the information there. Then I go usually to the workplace, because you can go to their workplace, and all of the workplace basically have like employee records. So you get their fingerprints and everything from there as well. So you can scan for fingerprints from the like if there was like a murder weapon, or just fingerprints on the victim or something that didn't match the victims or someone who lives in the apartment. So you can get like a fingerprints from their workplace and then just match if any of those match. You can also like interview people, like neighbors and just random people. Like, have you seen this guy? Do you know this guy? And some of them are willing to give you information, some of them are not. You can also ask for fingerprints, and you can also ask to go like, can I inspect your apartment? So you think that they might be the murderer.
Did you ever play Watch Dogs?
No, I have not.
Because this kind of sounds like what I wanted Watch Dogs to be. Because in Watch Dogs, like one of the gimmicks is like you're a hacker, right? And you can just like scan random pedestrians. It's about as deep as like Assassin's Creed, right? Because it's a Ubisoft game. But you can just like scan random pedestrians, and it'll give you like information about them. And if you press the right buttons in the right order, you can steal money from them.
Yeah.
So you'll just be like walking around in the street, and instead of doing like the Grand Theft Auto thing where you're just like socking everybody in the face and like beating the crap out of them and then taking their money, you're just like walking past them, like passively earning money by just walking up the streets.
Yeah.
But like it's super surface level. Like there's absolutely no mechanics around it aside from that, and like there's no real point to it. Like it's a hacking game that's actually just like you're a superhero, except like you can change the color of streetlights and like make fire hydrants explode and arbitrary things like that. And that's kind of it. You can turn cameras off, and you can use cameras to make hand grenades in people's pockets explode from across the map, which is kind of cool. But like at the same time, also gets pretty trite pretty quickly. This kind of seems like what I wanted that to be.
Yeah, it is just insanely cool, like seeing all the random interactions with all the like systems. Like how everything is procedurally generated. Like you have like I'm not actually sure how many people there is. I mean, it depends on the size of the map you do as well. How many people get added and it's also like tracks all the information you've gathered throughout your playthrough, because it doesn't really generate new people. It generates the people when it generates the map, and it's the same people. So if you collect like fingerprints from everyone, you have like this database of fingerprints. So you might already know who the killer is for the next crime, because you already got the fingerprints and information. In another case, if you just are very diligent on gathering information. Like I pretty much started every time I met a person, if I didn't know who they were, I asked for a name, and then it matches the face. And because I also had the social economical stuff, it like matches their all their hair color, eye color, shoe size, and everything. And then I asked for a fingerprints and everything. So I had like a massive database of people already, and it just gets insane. Like I understand why, like I said, that why there might be some performance issues here and there, because there's just so much going on under the hood. And it's just insanely satisfying once you actually crack the case. Especially if it's been like a really difficult case, where I had one where it was like a serial murder for 3 different murders. And I didn't really figure it out. Like the first murder just didn't have enough information to catch the person. Like there wasn't enough really information to find it at all. And then the second murder actually had enough information, but I didn't follow the right lead. So a lot of the leads don't really lead into anything. Because they're not like a generated leads. It's me deciding this is the lead I need to follow. Like go look through employee records or something. So it doesn't tell you like like you should do maybe this thing to figure this out. It's like you have to decide yourself what is the lead you go for. And it's just insanely satisfying when you actually do figure out, oh, it's this thing. It must be this thing.
I just hope that they get to a point with the optimization of that game where I can play it.
Yeah, it's been improved a lot. Like it was patched a couple times while I was playing, and it improved a lot already.
Maybe I need to like just buy it and try it and refund it if it runs like bad still, because that demo ran horribly when that demo was going around. So
yeah, you can definitely notice like when I was playing, like it's loading like sections of the world when you go to a new building or something. There's like a small hitch after playing a while.
Gotcha.
And then opening some of the menus gets a little laggy, especially like the address menu, because it has all the names and all the addresses for everyone and every like a shop and every business and everything. So
I'm
opening that and typing in something, it gets very laggy.
Yeah, I'm certainly used to playing very large procedurally generated games that get laggy after a while. So it's not exactly something I'm stranger to. It's just if I load into a game initially and it runs at like sub 1 frames a second, that's not playable, which is where I was at before. So, but
I would definitely highly recommend checking it out. This is probably my game of the year so far. Like,
wow,
it's absolutely
and it's an early
fantastic.
access game too.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic.
That is high praise.
It was funny because I kind of looked at it. I was like, this looks kind of interesting. And then a viewer of mine was like, you should really play it. It's really good. And I was like, maybe I should. Then I looked at the developer, which is the coal-powered games, and I was like, oh, I do need to play. Because their previous game, the Concrete Jungle, was also fantastic. Small, like a puzzly city builder deck building game.
Right.
And I really, really enjoyed that one. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely playing this game because I really enjoyed the previous game.
Right. Well, speaking of enjoying previous games that developers put out and then playing new games that they put out, I didn't particularly enjoy King Under the Mountain, which has been re-released as Mountaincore, but I played it, and it's better. So back in 2018, which feels like a billion years ago now, I backed a game called King Under the Mountain on Kickstarter, which was supposed to be released on Steam in early access in 2019, alongside of a publisher. And the game kind of went silent for a few years, with the occasional small update going out to the itch.io version, which was very unfinished. And then the developer finally announced that it would be coming to early access in 2021 with the publisher. Then about 3 or 4 months before early access launch for King Under the Mountain, it was announced that they've been dropped by the publisher, and due to varying reasons, and they would be releasing anyway because they're out of money. They released, and it sold horribly, got bad reviews because it was just not in a state that was ready to come out, and got 2 patches, and then the developer didn't update it for a year. Turns out they apparently got into some legal kerfuffle behind the scenes, and were having trouble with the name, King Under the Mountain. So they deleted the Steam page, and have now re-released it as Mountaincore with a year's worth of updates, because the developers apparently got funding from somewhere, and it has been working on the game full-time for about a year. Now, they did give everybody who had the game previously free copies of this new version, so it is kind of just an update if you owned the previous one. So if you own King Under the Mountain, you now have Mountain. It's in your library if you owned it previously. I've streamed about 15 hours of Mountaincore now, and for people who are unfamiliar with Mountaincore, what it's trying to do is it's trying to do Dwarf Fortress. It's trying to be Dwarf Fortress, but in a kind of Prison Architect or RimWorld style where it's flat, 2D, has that kind of building, has that kind of aesthetic, plays in that kind of format. But more akin to Dwarf Fortress, you have no direct control over your dwarves unless you have them set in a military, at which point then you can set patrol routes, you can tell them to guard somewhere, attack things, but it's very Dwarf Fortressy in the way the combat works. Now, what it's doing differently is everything requires like 18 steps to do. It's a production line game. So just to give you an example, every shop needs at least 2 tools to function. So it needs like a carving knife, or a rolling pin, or a chisel, or an axe. And these tools need to be managed and maintained. If you run out of tools, you have to produce more or import them. If they're left outside, they will rust to dust in the rain. If they are used too much, they can break and need to be replaced. You like just the process of making alcohol is you need 4 different shops which all require metal, which also requires like 8 steps to make metal. And these 4 shops require wheat, wort, and hops, as well as fuel, which is made somewhere else, which is like 4 steps to make as well. You have to grow wheat, wort, and hops, and then they put them all into these different shops, and then they put them into barrels and they let it ferment. Everything about this game is all about multi-step production chains. It's very streamlined. The actual production chains themselves work very well, and they're very simple. Job management is very simple. Every dwarf can do a maximum of 3 jobs, including hauling, hunting, cutting down wood, carpentry, wood cutting, masonry, blacksmithing. Military is its own kind of career path. Fishing is a job, and it requires fishing rods, which require wood, and a woodcutter shop and a carpentry shop to make. Beds require wood and linens to make. Linen is a 3-step process. Making planks for beds is pretty simple. It's just chop down trees, make them into planks. So it's a production line game. But the question is like, does it feel different enough from other games to kind of have a reason to exist? And I would say very much yes, it does. It feels closer to something like Clanfolk than RimWorld, just because of the tools requirement and the amount of production chains. But it's also a little bit less fiddly with the moods. The dwarves are pretty easy to manage. You just make sure that you import linens in the first year so that they have somewhere to sleep on comfy beds, or they will go insane by year 2. Because the amount of debuffs they get from sleeping on the floor is enough that like you need beds. So like just import beds and make sure that you have access to beds, and they will be fine. They don't even need separate rooms. They're okay to just sleep in a big old dormitory thingy. But it's got a lot of neat ideas going on, like the kitchen, right? It doesn't just produce meals. It can produce soup and cut meats. The soup and cut meats are all kind of baked into one. Soup is either veggies or veggies and meat. They prefer it more if it's veggies and meat. But if all you have is veggies, you put a cauldron in your kitchen, and then they put water and then veggies into the cauldron, and then they pick up the cauldron and they carry it to the feasting hall, and then it's distributed out to the dwarves as meals. And it's kind of neat watching them all run into the feasting hall and then eat out of these 4 cauldrons that you just prepared that were just brought over by the cooks. Same goes for chefs, where like there's a special table that you put into the feasting hall, and then the chefs bring the loaves of bread over. Same works for alcohol, where they actually bring like tanks of alcohol over to a beer tapper in the feasting hall, where they will go and serve and have little parties. There's a lot of neat ideas here, but the caveats are I managed to brick a save file by getting an autosave that autosaved on a sound effect that the game couldn't find, and so it would crash at the same time of day every day. And because you can't have split out save files, I lost 4 hours of progress because it autosaves every day. So that sucks. But from what I can tell, that bug was already fixed because a patch came out when I got a second round of crashes like that, and it didn't brick my save file. So hopefully that's already been fixed. But crashing aside, the issues that I have with this game where it communicates information terribly. There's no, like, you know how, like, RimWorld has, like, those little notifications that pop up, so does Dwarf Fortress, that are just like, yo, this is happening, or this is happening, or this is happening, and you need to do this. This game has none of that. So you'll hear sound effects and you'll be like, what does that mean? There's this weird thunk sound that took me like 6 hours to figure out, oh, that's a job getting canceled. I thought it was like the dwarves fighting or something. And so if like an item is lost or something, or like disappears for some reason, or is moved, then you'll hear this weird thump sound, and then the job will cancel. I think that there's a lot of places where this game could communicate information a lot better. But, you know, it has all of the parts. It has enemy invasions. It has monsters that can attack you from the caves if you dig too deep. You can train your military. It has waterworks and power structures and irrigation and pipes to pump water to places. It's got pretty much everything you would want from a two-dimensional Dwarf Fortress style game. It just needs more polish, and that's what it's getting because it's in early access. My biggest concern about this game is if you look at the Steam page for Mountaincore right now, it has 7 reviews as of the time of recording because none of the reviews count. It actually has 38, and like I think it's 100% positive. Like everybody's being super positive on this thing, but none of these reviews count because they're all from keys, because they're all free copies from the previous version. Because of how Steam's like review bombing works. So I think this game is just going to disappear off into the ether and become this weird obscure thing that I stream occasionally. And I don't want it to do that. I want this game to get the development time it needs to become something cool because it's got the bones there for a really neat little colony builder. But I just
sounds like
don't see it
just
ever
needs
getting
a little bit of polish and then someone finding it out there and then just explodes.
Yeah, and you know, I don't have enough pushing power to be able to do that. And also, you know, me getting a save bricking crash on stream doesn't help.
Yeah, it
right?
sucks.
So, you know, I think it's a cool thing. I hesitate to recommend it though.
Yeah, I still haven't played it. I've had the game for ages.
Now's the time to try it.
Yeah, I've been just waiting for it to actually get to the point that it's great.
It's
or
good
better
to play
than
now.
it was when it launched. Yeah,
you can play it right now. It takes a little bit to kind of get that build order down. It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
like just bedroom, like get linens imported right away. Plant your farms, get that going, because otherwise you'll lose out on seeds because this game has seeds. Get your feasting hall made and get your kitchen made by winter, and largely you'll be kind of okay.
Yeah, I really like the sound of like all these production chains because I never play games like that, right?
Yeah, well, it's
like
all production chains
and whatever. So this sounds amazing. Like I really like that.
It also the way the production chains are super simple because it's a room based system, kind of like Odd Realm or I think Songs of Six does a similar system where you put down a little square on the ground and then you can build your shops in that square, and then you put import and export platforms on these, which take one plank to build. and you click on it and you say, I want this item to come to this spot to be crafted, and I want this item to come out of it, right? So you can just make like 12 import and export things, all with different items on them. So like, as an example, the carpentry shop to make barrels needs barrel staves and barrel hoops, which come from the woodcutter's shop and the metalworks if you have one, or you can import them. And so you just say import metal staves and metal hoops, and then you have an export one for a barrel. And if you don't have a stockpile for a barrel, or you have it set to not go to stockpiles from that import export, whenever they need a barrel, they'll just go grab that, and then somebody else will run to that shop and make another barrel and put it on the export spot. Or you can just have 5 export spots for barrels and just have 5 barrels sitting there perpetually.
So you can basically set up a whole chain how to push and pull items out.
And unlike Dwarf Fortress, where you have to do like the if-then commands to like be very specific about what comes out when, it just automatically does it for you, assuming you don't have like, too many open stockpiles. But like it has neat things in it. Like if you chop down all of a certain type of tree on your map, they won't grow back. So you have to like be careful about how you manage your forests and don't let forest fires happen. You have to you can't dig out 2 large rooms or they'll cave in, which actually I think is going to be mandatory if you were to mine out the entire map, because you'll need to get more stone from somewhere. And it's got things on its roadmap that look super cool. Like they want to add an adventure mode, which is just like a party-based action mode where you assault other people's forts that they put up on a server somehow. I don't know how that's going to work or what that's going to look like, but it's been on the roadmap forever. So
yeah.
Apparently everything is moddable. The entire game was built around the idea that they want to make it moddable. It doesn't have workshop yet, but that's on the roadmap. I don't know. I want that game to do well.
Yeah. It sounds like it would do well. But maybe just people haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's been hidden. Speaking of games that are doing well, though, Kiri, talk to us about some vampires.
Yeah, I went back to V Rising because a new update came out. That's why everybody's been picking it up again. Secrets of Gloomrot, it's called. I haven't actually made it to that content yet, though. But last time I played Vampire V Rising was last year ago when it came out as an early access game. And in case you don't know what it is, it's a vampire survival, gathering, crafting, base building game. Maybe a bit of hack and slash ARPG in there. It's fun and it runs really good. You can play solo, or you can play with other people on the server. Since last time I played, so much has changed and quality of life improvements were added. None of that is what is new in the update, though. But I was pleasantly surprised by how much it has changed and changed to the better. So with that update, they added 2 new regions, new bosses, new enemies. You can now build a multi-floor castle.
Ooh. Building up?
Yeah, you can build up. New weather effects, because obviously the sun hurts you, so you have to stay in the shade. But now you also have to be careful for lightning strikes. And yeah, the update sounds really cool. I haven't seen anything else but the stairs, but I didn't have the materials yet to build the stairs. But it's been really fun. I don't know, I forgot how much I liked it, honestly.
Yeah, I went really heavily on it when it launched. I like binged it for a couple of weeks and got through all the content, and it was amazing fun.
I played a bit on server because Halcyon had a server. But my problem was that the people who were playing on it had so much more time than I did. And I was so behind. And the community was great and wanted to give me all the weapons and everything. But it wasn't any fun because I couldn't explore it for myself and discover everything. So I dropped off rather quickly, actually. But playing on my own is awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of like the textbook problem I have with all multiplayer survival games is people have more time than me. And it's funny because I play games for a living, so I don't know how that's possible. But yet somehow people still have more time than me.
Yeah, it's also like that they have they've played some of them have played the game already, the death basically. So they have all the knowledge of everything. So you don't really get the joy of discovery when everything is like, okay, this is here and this is this and this is how this works.
Yeah, and that's just sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if it's sad necessarily, but it's just there are certain types of games that were kind of harder to get into when you're limited to a certain number of hours that you can play them per day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I even felt that a little bit with Mech Warrior when that was coming out initially, but Belliner, do you think you're going to go back to V Rising for this update, or?
I'm not sure if for this update. I'm kind of tempted, but I also have quite a lot of other things I want to play right now, so.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure. But I definitely do want to do another run of V Rising with people. I wonder if they've, it was kind of how they launched it. It was kind of set up, like you could do PvE, like solo or in a group, but it was also like kind of set up like Rust so that you're fighting with other people. I wonder if they've like improved the PvE element of it more, so you can do much more of the single player or on a group against the world, or are they still focusing more on the like the PvP side?
I don't know.
Like it was totally playable as like a totally PvE game. Like we did, it was like 6 of us, I think, ish, and it was really fun just PvEing, and so that totally works. But there was all of these other like obviously PvP focused things that were kind of wasted on us.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, like that studio, the team that made V Rising, like traditionally that was their bread and butter was PvP games, like Bloodline Champions and Battlerite. Yes, were both very much PvP focused games, right? Like they were practically MOBAs, right? They were open kind of battle arena games with a similar combat style, similar camera perspective, but very much just 3v3, you fight, and then the round's over and you fight again, was what they did previously. So, yeah,
I mean, it did it amazingly well with that crowd as well.
Mm-hmm.
When it launched, like it was massive everywhere. Everyone was streaming it.
People really liked V Rising.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people going back, like even the big streamers with the new update, been playing it again.
Speaking of games I don't have enough time to play, this is a bit of a departure. Have either of you guys tried or looked at Starship Troopers Extermination? It's probably not Kiri friendly because it's a first-person shooter.
Yeah, it's not. I've looked at it. It looks and it's apparently really good as well.
It's Off-World Industries. They made Squad.
Yeah.
So I might need to try that.
I'm interested. It's just it's quite expensive, and it's I probably wouldn't play it enough for the price.
It's 32.
But I wouldn't mind like yeah, I wouldn't mind doing like a little bit of a Sunday multiplayer, shoot some aliens.
I'd be down. Call me. But on a more like on topic note, a game that I've been playing is Path of Achra, which I don't think so Belliner earlier today said that Shadows of Doubt is maybe your game of the year. This might be mine. At least early contender, probably top 5. I've put like 18 hours into this on Steam, and I put like 40 into the demo on itch before it was available on Steam. This is one of those games where if you're even remotely curious, try the demo, because 2 things about the demo. It's the full game, it's just an older build, and your progress carries over into the main game if you buy the game.
That's neat.
So that's the first 2 things I gotta say about this game. Path of Achra is a build-focused roguelike, not quite a traditional roguelike, but it is very much a roguelike. It is, I've heard it described as Path of Exile, but it only takes 30 minutes. So essentially what it is you have a dude, and you pick your type of dude or lady. Sometimes it's a lady when you load into the game. Depends on whether or not you get a mustache. And then you pick your religion and you pick your class. And there is, oh man, I might actually just open the game up and state how many there are. There is a lot of possible combinations of different classes. So there's, so for different types of characters, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. For classes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gods. So that's 12 by 12 of different combinations plus 8 gods. The gods give you prayers, which are kind of like your special abilities, and a bunch of passives. The class gives you starting stats, starting weapons, and a couple of passives. And your character type gives you your more starting stats, a prayer type, and sometimes a passive or a prayer effect that is activated when you use your prayer, and then usually some passives. And then some of them are just like a skeleton, where it's just a bunch of resistances and it can't walk. But it's in a game that's entirely built around builds. So once you select your passives, essentially from your class and your god type, you get into the main game and you select your powers, right? And there is, God, I don't actually know the full number of different abilities, but there is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different elemental abilities with different things. So it's everything from like Martial, which is just like I punch people and hit you with big stick, to like I explode into a ball of fire whenever I touch things, to like you walk next to me, I deal damage to myself by stabbing myself, and then that deals damage to you because I took damage, and then you taking damage heals me. And you can have up to 3 different ability trees per build, and so 3 different elements per build. Or you can just focus on an entire element. If you put enough points into certain elements, then you get a master guild like thing, which levels you up and gives you a bunch more passives. But it's all about stacking passives. So unlike a lot of roguelikes where it's like, I need to worry about 15 different activatable abilities, you have at most 3 activatable abilities at any given time. Everything else is either on standstill or on step or on attack or on block or on dodge or on evade, or stats can stack on like encumbrance, so you can just stack armor, which gives you encumbrance, which weighs you down, and that gives you more strength. And like there's all kinds of wild combinations of abilities. So with all that aside, it's a beautiful static pixel art. Everything is represented with wonderful little sprites. It's a solo developer. It's his first game. He used to be a modder over in the worlds of, or in Warcraft 3, would make maps for that. So this is kind of in a way like a remake of one of his Warcraft 3 maps, but not. So but yeah, it's a turn-based game focused on builds. The runs comprise of going from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen on kind of an FTL sort of map, with boss encounters in the middle. And at the end of each zone, you get some item drops, and then that also adds onto your possible passives and your gear and like the damage that you do, and it can give you more effects. So by the end of a run of Path of Achra, you press one button and the entire screen explodes for 5 seconds, and it's fantastic. It is just like the biggest goddamn power fantasy I've played in a roguelike in like ever. And the runs are short enough that when you die, you get a little bit of XP, and you unlock new classes and stuff, which I've unlocked all of them. And if you beat the game, it moves the cycle forward and makes everything a little bit harder. So the more you beat the game, the harder it gets, the more you need to actually think about your builds. And, you know, it's got achievements for stuff. It's not too hard, but it gets harder as you go. And it's pretty easy to pick up, I would say. And it's got this wonderful kind of grim, dark Cthulhu feel to the writing. I learned recently that the developer also apparently did or is like a semi-professional poet or something. So the writing is like wildly good and has a lot of flavor considering there's almost none of it. Like it'll give you like this little bit of flavor text when you go to select the next map, and it'll be like, I don't know, dark creatures lurk here. You can smell the scent of burning forests. Fire mages walk here. You will find a green mask held by ancient druids, and a staff encrusted with gems of gold. And you kind of have to guess as to what that's going to be for your drops based on like that flavor text, and it's kind of phenomenal. It's done wildly well for what it is. It's like $10 for the full game. The demo is free, and it's also the full game, so just go play the demo. And it's gotten a couple of videos from YouTubers, and I think at this point still has 100% positive reviews. So it's probably my favorite game of the year so far.
Looks really nice. Fun for sure. It says it's broken build sandbox.
Yeah, literally that is what it. Like I had a build once where I just basically maxed out evade, right? and my god has a passive on it, which is Hadad, where if you evade on evade or on block, you get an extra hit. Was one of the abilities I had in the martial tree, and that god, if you haven't used any of your prayers and you hit something, you shoot fire and lightning out of your hands in a line. So I picked a culture, which is like your character type, that is all based on evasion and adding evasion and dodge. Picked a weapon, a class type that was on step, block, or dodge, perform an extra attack, and then just maxed out the on dodge and block, get an extra attack. So I would attack a thing once, it would just be like, just like a machine gun of just like wall of fire and lasers and lightning and stuff, and everything on the screen would just die. Like, it got to the point where there was an enemy type at the end of the game that you run into that teleports onto you. They would teleport onto me and insta-die, because I would just evade them repeatedly, and it would just keep like running in like an infinite loop until bang, it would die. It was bloody phenomenal. The game is fantastic.
Yeah.
So much
It looks like I played a lot of like traditional roguelikes, like Adom being one of my favorite ones. And then also like I play a lot of Path of Exile, and I really enjoy the whole like the process of building a builder. Maybe more than actually playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
I might spend like, there's a program for Path of Exile called Path of Building, which basically allows you to simulate and like create a builder, which is kind of needed these days, to be honest, for it. It's getting so complex. So this seems like it's just condensing that whole like building a build into like a very bite-sized.
The longest run I've had in this game was about an hour and 40 minutes to get to the end, and the reason it took an hour and 40 minutes was because I was playing a skeleton, which is really slow, and I was summoning units, so the game had to run through so many turns per turn that each turn was taking about, 15 seconds. So the longest run I ever had was just simply because like turns were taking so long. And also, like, just to talk about gameplay for a second, you can move around with numpad, you can move around with the mouse, you can also move around on the keyboard. Or you can just hit tab and the game will just, like, for certain builds, you can just hit tab and the game will just move towards the nearest enemy and hit it for you. So you can, if you have the right kind of build, you can literally just hold down tab and, like, not really pay attention to it.
Yeah, it seems like this game is kind of between those, like, very heavy build type of older roguelikes or, like, Path of Exile, and then, like, Vampire Survivors, where you get
it is somewhere in the middle there. But, like, there's also certain... There's also some builds where you have to be very particular about your movements, and if you step onto the wrong square, you'll just get insta-gibbed. So, like, it depends on the build you're building, right? Like, you can build a build where it's just, I stand still and explode, and that's it. Fire go everywhere, and you burn to death, and I laugh at you.
But it seems to maximize, like, the enjoyment of both of those, like, the building and then the explosions.
Yeah, and because the runs are so short, you can just, like, play through... Like, I play through 2 to 3 runs an evening before bed. And I haven't played a game like that in... I don't know. It's been a really long time. I haven't played a game like that since I obsessed over Trackmania mid-2020.
Yeah, I definitely have to give this a go as well.
So, yeah, no, it is fantastic. So, check out Path of Achra. Bellinair, what is Laysara Summit Kingdom?
So they popped a demo recently, like a week ago or something, on Steam. And it's basically a city building game. You're basically building basically it's like a Tibet on this like a mountainside where you build it's very Anno-ish building style. Like you have the same road styles as the houses, you put a marketplace in the middle, and then you have the service in the range, provide all the goods. Like if you played any of the like Anno style, same with the production change. Like you need this building to make farm to make a wheat, then you produce that wheat into something, and then you deliver to the marketplace and distribute to people. So it's that kind of like a city building Anno-ish production chain game, but on like a very steep mountainside, which adds a kind of interesting complexity to it. And you have like these different elevations and different like spots on the cliff where you can build, and you have to build bridges between them, and like these like lifts that you can go up and down. And like different layers have different things. Like the bottom layer of the mountain is like fertile, so you can do like a lot of your farming and stuff like that up there. And then when you go upper level, there's like mining over there, and you can do certain things on certain layers. And the goal is to basically populate the mountainside all the way to the top, and then build this like a monastery or like a kind of monument at the top, basically, to win the game. And
so is this Anno, but instead of having like separate portions of your city on separate islands, you're on separate cliff faces?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Basically,
like I'm just
like,
looking at this looks exactly like Anno.
Yeah, it really is, and you have like transportation systems between your like mountain islands, more or less. So you have to transport. Like I had all my housing and all my cow housing. You have to have yaks. They have their own. They're basically citizens as well. So I had those and all the farming on the bottom layer, and then I had like bees and copper mining and copper pots on the second layer, and then you had to deliver those to the bottom. And it works really well. Like it definitely captures that same like Anno style gameplay, but a little bit more bite-sized. But it also has like disasters, which you don't really. I mean, you kind of get to enjoy those in the demo, but there's like avalanches, and you have to like protect against those, and you can build like this thing that triggers the avalanche before it gets too big, and you have like a ton of snow coming down the mountain, and you kind of have to channel it so it doesn't hit your building, so you can build like walls and things to kind of keep it away from your houses. So it does have like some things that like Anno doesn't have, and it looks really fantastic. I really like the art style on it, and it's kind of funny. But when you're building like in the building mode, it doesn't look that steep. How the camera angle is set, it doesn't look that steep. But you have like a free like a photo mode as well, so you can just go. It was the first thing when I got the game. I was like, I want to zoom in closer. Can I zoom in closer? Because some of the like houses and people, they just look really good, and then you just get like this free floating camera with the photo mode, and you can like realize like how damn steep it's, like a 45 angle on the steep hill, or even more on some of the parts. And I was also like wondering, can you rotate a building? Which you can't, at least in the demo. But I also realized why you can't rotate the building once I went to the photo mode and realized like, okay, the building just cannot exist in this angle on that steep cliff. It has to be this way.
Yep.
But yeah, it feels really good, like for a city building game. Like, I definitely enjoyed the demo, and I really want to play the full version whenever that happens to come out. And it's just visually really good looking, and I also really like the whole like Tibet like the theme it has, because it's not really something that's been done that much in games. Like we learned about food in different foods in Tibet. I was like, produce this food thing, and I was like, what is that? And then we went to into the Wikipedia. I was like, what is this food? So I really enjoyed the theme as well. Like it's something that you don't usually get in like any video games.
Does it have a moving background?
I don't think so, really. Because you basically most of the time just look at the mountain.
Okay.
So it doesn't really, you don't really see the background.
Yeah, because I was thinking if you're maybe not zoomed in that much, maybe you see clouds going in the background. I don't know.
There is definitely some moving clouds. So it's like this like a fog. You can see like other mountains in the distance, and then there is like this fog that kind of goes in there.
Okay.
But most of the time you're kind of zoomed in so that you don't even see it at all. If you look at like the screenshots on the Steam page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like for example, the second picture with the like red houses. That's basically what you see most of the time. So there's really nothing moving other than the animations in the town. So it shouldn't be really an issue.
Thank you.
I definitely recommend trying out the demo. It's surprisingly like a long demo as well. It says I got an email from the developer asking if I would like to check out the game. They said like 45 minutes, but I spent like an hour and a half. But I also felt like for that hour and a half, it did have quite a lot of content and mechanics.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, I think maybe I'm just somebody who really wished he liked Anno more, but I wish that more people made games like Anno, because I always want to get into the Anno games, and then I start playing them, and I'm just like, I don't.
Yeah,
like
especially
this.
the new one is the new Anno has so much content that it's just such a venture.
Like they're not bad games. They're just kind of a lot.
Yeah,
That's
definitely the newest one.
the best way I can put it. They're just kind
so
of
much.
a lot.
So this one is definitely much more bite-sized. If you want that same experience, but more bite-sized.
Sounds good.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I think that brings us to the end of games. So I think we're going to take a real quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the news in this week. And it's not all sad. There's some good news. I swear. Back after this. And we're back with episode 70 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. And we're going to be talking about the news that's been happening in the past couple of weeks. Embracer Group, you might remember them. Everybody's favorite Swedish overlords have purchased the rights to, or the book rights to, Lord of the Rings, a little indie novel series that you may have heard of. Some movie adaptations were made a while ago, but recently Embracer has announced that they are working on, alongside of Amazon, a new Lord of the Rings MMO. And we know how well Amazon's, forays into video game development have gone so far, but I'm just kind of curious as to your guys' thoughts on this, because I know that there's been a Lord of the Rings MMO, right? It exists. It's been going and running for kind of a long time, and it has a pretty core fan base and audience. So I guess the question for me is, like, who is this for? Is this for that audience? Are they trying to capture that kind of niche, small audience? Or are they trying to, like, does Lord of the Rings have the staying power that it did, 10 years ago even?
I mean, they did have all the new TV shows for Lord of the Rings, so I imagine it's capturing the people again.
Certainly, but like...
I'm probably aimed more for that people than the old Lotro people.
Sure.
Because if they're still playing, do you really want to move on to a new one?
I mean, people still play EverQuest, right? And EverQuest 2. Like, there's a few thousand people playing EverQuest every month that are still playing EverQuest. So, like, I don't think there are some people that just never really move on from MMOs, but I don't know. I feel like this is a weird thing to read, because it's like, they're working on a new MMO with Amazon, and it's like, are MMOs still a thing that people want? Because I kind of feel like games like V Rising have almost taken over that niche to a degree, and Valheim.
I do think that people are still like very, very hungry for MMOs. Like, people play still like WoW Classic and Retail, and Final Fantasy 14 like exploded
sure.
last year or the year before.
But are you going to pull those people away from Final Fantasy? Like, to me, this kind of feels like around the same era when, like, that Warhammer MMO came out.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we all saw how well that did.
Yeah. I mean, there was the Amazon's previous MMOs as well, and they pulled, like, a ton of people. But then it kind of died out initially, yes. So I feel this will probably initially pull a lot of people as well. And then depending how good the game is, it probably won't have the people if it doesn't have anything to keep them there, and people just go back to their MMOs that they like. I mean, or if it does have something cooler, then maybe they actually stay.
I'm curious to see what this ends up being, and I guess it's going to be worth watching, but, like, I don't know.
I'm
making new Lord of the Rings things at this point to me just seems kind of saccharine in a way. I don't know why. But
yeah, and it's also like Embracer plus Amazon. Yeah. Like, Amazon hasn't really had good track with those MMOs, and also, like, I feel like Embracer has bought like 1 million like IPs, and then like makes like a remake or a new version of the game or something, and they tend to be kind of mediocre.
Yeah, like I mean, like, Kiri, you played quite a bit of New World, right?
I did, yeah.
Have you ever gone back to it? Like, do you know what the status of that game is at this point? Because I remember New World came out, some people loved it, some people hated it, and then it bricked a bunch of graphics cards, and then I don't think I've heard about it since.
I know that it's still being updated because I get the Steam news feed, basically. Mm-hmm. I haven't played it in, I don't know, forever, I suppose. I really liked it, but it was so PvP focused, and also not ideal for me and my simulation sickness, so I couldn't do PvP. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was it. I know FG loved it, absolutely loved it, but also the PvP focus was not good.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem with all these new MMOs as well. That A lot of them are very PvP focused though, and I'm very much not.
I don't mind.
Go on.
I've liked PvP in MMOs. I've played in Guild Wars 2, for example. I really like that, but it's just New World, the controls, I just can't play it because my camera sensitivity is so low that I don't get sick. I can't fight. I'm not going to survive. But so yeah, I don't know how New World's holding up still, but I'm definitely curious about the new Lord of the Rings MMO. I'm looking for an MMO that's going to grab me again. Well, yeah, we'll see.
For me, like I'm looking at New World reviews right now, and it's a lot of people with like 3,000 to 5,000 hours saying people are stopping playing because of insert reason here. So pretty typical MMO reviews. 3,000 hours, bad game, but you know,
yeah.
It's I don't know. MMOs are they're kind of not my speed, so for me, I have to kind of reach to other people to like ask, because like the closest thing to an MMO that I've played in the last, I guess, 5 years would probably be Trackmania. That's not an MMO. So
No.
Speaking of
multiplayer.
Speaking of other games that are not MMOs, Kiri, what's going on with Roots of Pacha?
That's so funny. It's so funny. Okay, Roots of Pacha. No, it's not. It's just that the whole story is so funny.
Okay.
So I've talked about it before of G and Arch on this podcast, so you probably know what it is. Too Long Didn't Read, kind of a Stardew Valley life sim in the Stone Age setting ish. And it vanished from Steam. It's not there anymore. You cannot purchase it because the developer Soda Den is in a, I suppose now also legal disagreement with the publisher Crytivo, because a couple of days after the launch, the developer wanted to get out of the contract with the publisher. The publisher didn't want that because they claim they've supported and helped develop the game for the past 3 years. And now, after the successful launch, they want to separate. And they claim that, according to Valve's policy, if there is a dispute, then they have to contact Valve, and Valve just remove the Steam page because it's about money and sales. So there are no sales being made right now. The developer is still continuing development, and there are updates. So if you have the game, you can play it, you get the updates, it's perfectly fine, but you cannot purchase it. It's hilarious. And at first, it was only the developer saying, oh, they've removed it, we don't know what's going on, we're going to fix this, and blah, 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 bad publisher. But also the publisher made a statement, and it's side A, side B. It's just embarrassing that it got out, honestly. It's embarrassing they couldn't solve that without going public.
It's also really hard to judge when you're not in there, from outside. One guy says this, and the other guy says this. It's which
it's just,
side you believe, and it's probably more on both sides than they let you know.
Yeah, I'm not on any side. It's just there's this side said that, the other side said that, but
yeah,
it's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's from my perspective of somebody who barely even was aware of that game's existence. It just kind of seems like a he said she said spitting match on social media. With an actual legal battle going on underneath, and we don't have all of the information on either side, so we just kind of have what they said and what they said. People are taking sides based on whether or not they bought a game from the publisher before, and it's weird.
Yeah, it's bad publicity.
Oh yeah, no, it just makes everybody look bad.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
The game's good though.
Yeah,
I've heard really good things about the game, and I kind of wanted to check it out as well. And then I guess I'm not checking it out at least for now.
I mean, if you have it already, what's to stop you from streaming it? And being like, hey, I have this game you can't play.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could do that. But then there's also you don't really I'm still playing it off stream. I'm not going to stream it again though. I hadn't planned on anyways, but now I don't know what's going on behind the scenes here. I might not want to support this on stream publicly because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just weird.
So I guess I have to wait and see what happens then.
Yeah.
Speaking of things you might not want to support publicly, Blizzard is scrapping Overwatch 2's hero missions and progression, and we have this article over here on PC Gamer. Long story short, Overwatch 2, the whole reason for Overwatch 2 was that they were going to rework some characters and make the game a 5v5 game instead of a 6v6 game. And they were going to add in PvE missions where you and 4 of your buddies could go and play as your favorite characters and read erotic fan fiction about those characters and then run around in co-op missions and shoot stuff and get more lore to expand your fan fiction. Because that's all that the people who still play these games, who still play Overwatch are doing at this point as far as I'm concerned. But essentially, they've canceled it. So when they launched Overwatch 2, they launched it without the PvE stuff, and they're like, PvE's coming, it's coming, don't worry about it. Now they've canceled it, so they've scrapped the co-op missions and the progression alongside the co-op missions. So at this point, I have to pose the question: why does Overwatch 2 exist? Because it seems like, aside from the fact that it's free to play, everybody just kind of hates it more than original Overwatch, and a lot of people just kind of want Overwatch back, which you can't play or buy anymore, because Overwatch 2 replaced it, and now they've cut the main, like, actual interesting feature from Overwatch 2.
That is sad.
So, like, I feel bad, sort of, for people who are still playing Overwatch at this point. But, like, why are people still playing Overwatch?
Maybe it's fun.
I mean, sure, but, like, man, it's just...
Yeah, it's so weird how they can't just get the PvE into the Overwatch. Like, it was supposed to be an MMO originally, right? Which then got scrapped, and then...
Supposed to be Project Titan or whatever.
Yeah, then they made that into Overwatch 1. And then they're like, finally we're getting that PvE stuff that we made like 10 years ago into the game. We're making Overwatch 2, and then... not. Again. It's so weird.
It's so strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Blizzard these days, I guess. It feels like there's many things really wrong in there.
The only things that still work for Blizzard Activision King at this point are Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and hopefully Diablo for all the people waiting for Diablo.
Yes. I'm so excited.
But Achra is pretty decent, what I heard from the new server slam they had.
Yeah.
No issues
Although
at all.
really liking it.
Plan to play it the week after launch, not the week of launch, if you're going to play Diablo, because those servers they're going to be on fire. Like, they're claiming they're going to try and be ready, but no, they're going to be on fire. Like, a building is going to burn down when Diablo
Well, they have
launches.
that, is it 4 days or 3 days early access if you buy the really expensive edition of the game?
Lots of people are going to
4
do
days,
that.
and it's the middle one already. So it's not.
But even the base one is kind of expensive.
It's an expensive
Well, it's
game.
a normal AAA game now.
Yeah.
Which is expensive. AAA games are $89.99 here.
They are expensive, sure, yeah, but it's a AAA game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, fingers crossed for Diablo, and I'm sorry to all you Overwatch fans out there.
Yeah, I hope they someday get that PvE stuff. Because actually the lore and things that they have is kind of interesting. And I love they've done those character videos and things for Overwatch.
Oh, the
Overwatch.
cinematics.
And they're super fun to watch. Like, I don't care about Overwatch in any way, but I
They
really
should
like
just turn off
Yeah.
Overwatch and make a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, just turn
get
the video game
Pixar or
off,
something, yeah.
put the first one back up, and make a movie.
I mean, it can't do worse than the Warcraft movie, right?
Yeah. Speaking of movies, Nicolas Cage, everybody's favorite video game protagonist, is now a video game is going to be a video game protagonist in Dead by Daylight. And it's not Nicolas Cage as like one of his characters that he's in, because he's in many horror movies, right? But like, or in a good number of horror films or films that are like horror adjacent. But no, it's Nicolas Cage as a survivor in Dead by Daylight. I don't play Dead by Daylight. I have no interest in Dead by Daylight. This is fantastic. I want more of this. Like,
It's funny, I saw this linked in the Discord, and you have this like a still image of his face in the tweet, and I thought he looks like Drongo on that.
I could
More
kind of
Slightly.
than Nicolas Cage.
I just want Nicolas Cage to be Nicolas Cage in all video games. Like, put him in Call of Duty, put him in Fortnite, put him in Smash, Mario Kart. He should be a guest character in Mortal Kombat.
They're remaking that as well. The next Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah, they need to stop doing that. I was ranting about that the other day. It ruins all databases for video games. And as somebody who stares at databases for video games, it's like, why did you happen to do that? Anyway, what the heck are Epic Game Store launches, Epic Game Store rewards? Because I don't even know what that is. I try and avoid Epic Game Store, and I saw this in the news thing, and I was like, I'm sure somebody else here knows what this means.
I actually read through it, yeah. So Epic is going to try something like Humble had for ages now. When you buy something, you get like a cashback 5% reward in a wallet, I suppose, for the next purchase. But I think you have to use it within how many months was it? 25 months.
25 months, yeah.
Yeah, then it's going to
like
expire
2 weeks after the purchase.
So it's a good system. Humble's doing it. It's nice. You buy something on Epic, you get 5% for that for the next game. It's cool.
Yeah. Every 20th game is free.
Does Fortnite money count towards this?
Yes, even V-Bucks.
Okay. I have a feeling what this is going to do, because people who don't buy games on Epic, and there's a lot of those people, right? And there's still a lot of those stalwart, like, I only buy games on Steam or only GOG and Steam or whatever. Won't use Epic for one reason or another. I don't think this is going to sway that crowd at all.
Nope.
But, it might make people who play a lot of Fortnite buy other games with their Fortnite money. Or just more Fortnite
Could be.
money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all games, apps, add-ons, or virtual currencies.
Speaking of people who only play games on Steam, Steam is offering a 90-minute game trial starting with Dead Space. Doesn't this completely make their refund policy redundant?
Well, this is only for limited games, right? It's not for everything.
Yeah, so...
But for those games. I do think this is a great idea, because, people do that trial thing by refunding, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's it's, I guess, the next step with the demos as well. The demos, I feel, are like a fantastic idea. Back in the day, I loved demos when I was a kid. That's how I discovered most of the games back in the day, like buying a magazine, getting a CD, or biscuits, or something with here's 100 demos of random games, and then just play those for a couple of months, and this is a great game, I'm gonna buy this. And also, it lets you to play games that you otherwise probably wouldn't check out. Like the same thing with all these Xbox Game Pass and all the other subscription things, because you don't have to buy a specific game. You get to test a bunch of things. I've tried a lot of things that I wouldn't touch otherwise because of that, and I feel this whole trial thing will help you with that as well, and probably get people to buy games that they wouldn't normally buy, because they wouldn't otherwise try it at all. So you don't really want to throw that €60 or whatever Canadian it was on a game just to try it. If it's especially something that you haven't really, like a type of game that you haven't really played before and you don't know if you like it or not. So having a trial option is really good, or a demo.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's a neat idea. I'm curious to see how it's implemented and what games take it.
I imagine it's going to be on a lot of big AA games. Obviously, you can't do a short visual novel game that's an hour long and giving the 90-minute trial on that.
I'll tell you this, I would try a 90-minute trial on Starship Troopers Extermination right now if I had the option.
Oh, yeah. I would be downloading already.
Yeah. So, I think certain types of games, I think it would work real well. I think for other types of games, it would work real terrible. But yeah, no, it seems like a neat idea. Curious to see how it's implemented. Curious to see who implements it. But that kind of brings us to the end of this week's episode of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. But I have access to some stats, some behind-the-scenes stats that not everybody has access to because I'm the one with the passwords. If anybody wants them, just let me know and I can either screenshot them or share them with our team behind the scenes. But it shows us rankings, which take way too long to load on this page, which is why I'm stalling. But it shows us rankings around on the various platforms of like how well our episodes are doing. So currently, we are rank 81 in Poland for video games. We are rank 62 in Poland in India for leisure and video games. We are rank 100 in leisure in Poland for podcasts, and we are still the 60th most popular podcast in Honduras for video games. So shout outs to our one Honduran fan. And yeah, those are all of our recent rankings. And a couple of weeks back, we charted pretty high in Germany for a minute there. For some reason, we were like the 18th most popular video games podcast in Germany. So shout outs to the fans out there. As always, if you want to help us get these rankings up, go leave us reviews on iTunes for your region, because regional reviews on iTunes are kind of crazy. So for a lot of places in the world, we're probably a 0-star podcast. But if you think we're a 5-star podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. Kiri, who are you and where can people find you on the internet?
I'm Kiri, and you can find me on tdkiri.com, linking to all the platforms.
Bellinair, who are you and where can people find you on the internet?
I don't know. Most days I don't know who I am myself, to be honest. But you can find me Bellinair basically everywhere. Twitch and Twitter and YouTubes and everything. Maybe need to add a TV at the end. And maybe I will be actually not sleeping and actually streaming soon as well.
And I'm Blind. You can find me at stupidskill.com or just BLINDIRL on most platforms. And this podcast is the Halcyon Frequency Podcast. Episodes go up every Sunday. If you would like to get more episodes of this podcast, go to halcyonfrequency.com. That also has links to all of our team's various social media things, as well as our Discord server. If you join the Discord, there's a room to discuss this podcast and ask us questions or yell at us when we accidentally forget to upload an episode or something, and which doesn't happen often, I swear. And once again, if you would like to support this podcast, the best way to do that is simply go to the iTunes pages or your podcast platform of choice. I'm told you can leave comments now on Spotify, which is crazy. I don't know. I unsubscribed from Spotify last year and haven't looked at it in a while. But apparently you can leave comments on Spotify now. So go leave us some comments if you're listening on Spotify. Do those sorts of things. That'd be cool. But the music you're hearing for the intros and outros are by Peter Pohl and Paul Mile. And if you want to get more episodes of this podcast, once again, halcyonfrequency.com. Thank you very much for listening to this week's episode. We'll be back next week. Till next week, don't touch that dial. This is Halcyon Frequency, signing off. And done.